going on? It's me, Shimigami X, and what I have for you today is a video response from one of my subscribers. Hope I'm saying this right. Joao Simoes, who made a video response regarding my video about Ichigo versus Ichigo's power compared to the power of the captains of the Gotei 13. Alright, so we're going to get into this straight away. First thing I can say, I do like how you went about your, discussion, and we do have certain things that we agree on. So there's no point us talking about the things that we agree on. We might as well talk about the things that we disagree on, and why I believe why I disagree with them, and etc. All right, so let's get into this. All right, you mentioned that out of the captains of the Gotei 13 that Ichigo would defeat, one amongst them at the current stage of where the Bleach is at now in the current storyline. So for those of you who don't know what's going on in the manga right now, I am calling spoiler alert, so if you don't want to watch, sign out now. Alright. Love. I do agree with you about the whole speed thing, how Ichigo would essentially beat him primarily based on his speed and power. Okay, we both know that Love has hollow powers that are superior to Ichigo's hollow powers. And the reason I say they're superior is for the simple fact that he has had a century to develop them. As we all know, the captain level Vizards, including Hiyori herself, have all developed them to the extent where they've learned hollow powers. Well, not hollow, they've learned zero and other hollow techniques. So they're more advanced and more adept in, their hollification, able to do it for longer. Like for example, we all know that Ichigo's hollow powers aren't very well developed. Like, he doesn't have full control of them. Like, he's always in a constant battle with his hollow. Whereas the other captain level Vizards seem to be in complete control of their hollow. It's like the hollow has submitted to them. Alright. So, Love, we agree. Moving on. Toshiro, we agree. We're not even going to talk about that. Move on. Komamura, I agree with you. Move on. Leave him. Now, let's go on to Soifon. To an extent, I agree with you about Soifon, but then to an extent, I have to disagree with you as well. Alright. The reasons I agree with you is that we do know that Ichigo's Bankai is based primarily on speed. Okay. But last time I checked, Ichigo doesn't know the abilities of Soifon. But Soifon does know the abilities of Ichigo. So she knows that Ichigo's, power is essentially speed-based, because in the Soul Society arc, Byakuya would have had to do a report based on his encounter with the Ryoka, in this case, Ichigo. He would have had to do a report as a captain's duty. Hold on a second, I'm going to change the battery because my camera's about to die. 1 second. Alright guys, sorry about that little short intermission break, as I just changed the battery on my camera, so now we're going to resume session. Yeah, I brought my captain's cloak with me, because me, Captain X. Alright, now let's go back into discussion. Okay, I believe where I left off, we was talking about, who's we talking about again? Byakuya. Okay, we know that in the fight against Ichigo and Byakuya, after that fight, we know that Byakuya would have had to do a report, and that would be given to the Captain Commander, Yamamoto himself at the time, and all the other captains. And Soifon was still a captain of the Gotei 13 at the time, and it still is in the present period in time of where the manga is. Okay, so bearing that in mind, she would have intelligence about what Ichigo's powers essentially are. So, knowing that in mind, if they were ever to face off in a life and death situation, Soifon, as you said, her abilities are very much assassination, primarily speed based. So, the only person in the Gotei, out of the entire Gotei 13, she is said to be the fastest. And the only person that is able to outmatch her, that we've seen so far, in terms of speed, was Yoruichi. You even said so yourself, that, Yoruichi would be faster than Ichigo is, especially in terms of hand-to-hand combat. And to be able to defeat someone in hand-to-hand combat, there's two things you need. You need to be, over one, be more experienced than them. No, sorry, three things. One, be more experienced than them in battle. Two, be physically stronger. Three, be faster and have better reflexes. It's unlikely that Yoruichi has better physical strength than Ichigo in terms of hand-to-hand combat. So that leaves two things: battle experience and speed. Considering how she dealt with Soifon, it's most likely that it would be speed. So bearing that in mind now, Soifon wasn't far off Yoruichi. So even considering Ichigo's Bankai, which is being primarily based speed, is kind of obvious and evident to see that Soifon would essentially kill him, especially with Suzume Bachi. The ability, one sting leaves a homunca. Sting in the same place again, you're dead. Instantly, that's it, it's a wrap. Ichigo is not being one to have very good defense. He's been very good at countering. Look at all his battles so far. He's not really been one that's very good at, you know, defending and blocking attacks. Especially accurate attacks, and the likes of Soifon would do. Assassination attacks. Like the amount of times he got hit by Grimmjow, the amount of times he got hit by Ukiura, and all the other battles he's been through. He gets hit quite a lot, but he survives and he endures. That's what Ichigo has better than most people, is physical endurance and stamina. So, bearing those in mind, a battle between Soifon is a quick battle. It's 2 hits and it's over. In Shikai, in Suzumebachi. Okay. So that's why I would disagree with you in terms of Soifon. I spoke about Komura, how I agree with you already. I spoke about Toshiro and Love, how I'd agree with you already. Now, let's talk about Kensei. You said it yourself, Kensei is not slow. Kensei is not like Komura, he's not slow. So, Ichigo, he doesn't know Kido. He doesn't know any long-range attacks. The one long-range move he knows is Getsuga Tensho. And we know that Getsuga Tensho isn't the fastest of attacks. So, bearing that in mind, someone being a hand-to-hand combat type, couldn't you like get the impression that Kensei would be able to dodge Getsuga Tensho? Getsuga Tensho takes up a large amount of spiritual pressure from Ichigo. So firing too many of those will drain his Reiatsu and leave him in a weakened state. So Getsuga Tensho won't work. So that leaves him no choice but to fight him at hand-to-hand combat. Because Ichigo has no other method of fighting. It is the only technique he knows because he hasn't sat down in this inner world and learnt Jinzen. Well, he hasn't used Jinzen to learn any new techniques other than Final Getsuga Tensho. But even then, Final Getsuga Tensho is a long-ranged attack. It's basically a giant slash of Reiatsu. You know that, I know that. So I'm not going to insult your intelligence and keep babbling on about that. You know that, I know that. So let's move on. So, bearing that in mind, the battle would primarily be a close battle. And you said it yourself that if it's a close hand-to-hand battle, like, you know, hand-to-hand confrontation, very close, as you do with swords, it's a close thing. Because Ichigo's sword isn't the longest thing in the world. It's not like Ginichimaru's where it can extend, so he can keep his opponents at a distance. Or like Zabimaru, where he can extend the blade. Or like Senbon Sakura, where he uses the petals to, you know, control and slice up his enemies from a distance. It's not like that. It's primarily just a sword, a Zanpakuto, where he has to be a close combat. So on that essence, from what you said, and from my own knowledge, Kensei would win that battle. Okay, now, we're going to look at in terms of Joshiro. I'm not doing this in any particular order, I'm just going through the captains. Look at Joshiro Ukitake. You said it yourself that you just don't know. So I accept that you just don't know, but I'm going to give you reasons why I personally think that Joshiro would beat Ichigo. 1, battle experience. We all know that. And Joshiro Ukitake and Shunsui Kyoraku were one of the first captains of the Gotei 13. It's even stated in the Bleach anime and manga itself that the original Gotei 13 was said to be the strongest among the Gotei 13, containing Yamamoto, Unohana, Kyoraku, Ukitake, and that's all we know so far. That's all we know. So, bearing that in mind, he was one of the strongest of the Gotei 13. Right about now, Ukitake is sick. We both know that, so that's a handicap in terms of Ukitake. Okay. Now, Ukitake's Shikai. We have no idea what his Bankai is, so we can't go on about that. His Shikai is able to more or less absorb any kind of Kido or any kind of Kido slash spiritual pressure, like kind of wave attack, and fire it back at the enemy, changing the intensity of it. It's not just absorbed and fired back. He can change the intensity of it, and he can change and even delay it if he has to. Because he's even done it in, I know this was filler, but he's even done it against Ryujin Jaka. Ryujin Jaka's Flames. So, he would be able to do the same thing with Getsuga Tensho, which is Ichigo's ultimate attack. Other than that, in hand-to-hand combat, not hand-to-hand combat, in like straight swordsmanship, Joshiro knows more sword styles than Ichigo. Simply because he's been around for longer and he's been through the proper method of training. I know Ichigo is like, he's a good swordsman. We can agree that he's a good swordsman. But he hasn't gone through the Shin Megami Academy. He's not like the other captains who know numerous sword styles. He only knows he fights based on instinct. His fighting style is very similar to his Hollows, who fights purely on instinct, nothing else. So, it's like having a trainee boxer versus a normal boxer. It's like having, you know, an amateur versus Mike Tyson at his prime. It just doesn't work out. Naturally, the master will win until you go through the proper method of training and become better. And then surpass him. And that's where the method, the student surpasses the master. Ichigo has yet to become a student. He hasn't learned anything from the Shinigami Academy. He knows no Kido. He just about knows Jinzen. He only knows one move, which Zangetsu taught him. So, bearing all that in mind, how can you honestly say that he'd be better than somebody like, or equal terms even, to somebody of the likes of Byakuya, Joshiro, Shunsui, Zaraki? Okay, you said yourself that you don't think he would be able to beat Zaraki, so that's cool, we agree on that. Now, let's go to Byakuya now. If you look in the fight against Byakuya and Ichigo, Byakuya has a lot of pride. We both know this, as his natural character. Byakuya, although he used his Bankai, Senbou Zakura Kageyoshi, Senkei, Senbou Zakura Kageyoshi, and all his ultimate techniques, although he used those, he consistently underestimated Ichigo's power throughout their entire battle. First, Ichigo said that he could go Bankai. Byakuya was like, no way, you couldn't attain Bankai, you're just a Ryoka. A Bankai, like so easy as though it's second nature, is inconceivable. Those are Byakuya's words. So that clearly shows he consistently underestimates Ichigo. He uses Senbou Zakura Kageyoshi now, Bankai. He lets it fire at Ichigo. He's not even using his hands, because you know that with his hands he's twice as fast. It's only after Ichigo proves himself that he's enough to dodge Senbou Zakura, that he starts to use his hands, you know, to increase its speed. It's as they're fighting, Byakuya decides to amp, you know, his spiritual pressure up, decides to use more, like, basically deciding that he wants to have more intent to kill him as he's fighting. Okay, Byakuya's intention was always to defeat him, always, naturally, but it's almost like he was testing Ichigo's powers. It's like, for example, when Byakuya released his Senkei, we know, with 1,000 blades surrounding him inside that dome, there was a particular moment, and you'll remember this clearly as well, and so will everybody else, where Ichigo was giving, like, Byakuya some smack talk. So Byakuya took a second sword from one of the 1,000 swords, stabbed Ichigo in the foot, and done Byakurai, Kado number 4, Byakurai through his shoulder. That was more or less just to shut Ichigo up. It's evident to see, because if you really had the intention to kill somebody, if once you stabbed them through the foot, he stabbed him through the foot, basically to paralyze his movements. He's blocking his sword with one hand, stabs him through the foot with the other hand, does Byakurai through his shoulder. He could have easily done that through his neck, or through his chest, or through his heart, killing him instantly. Essentially instantly. If he shot him through his head, he would have died instantly. That would have been the fight over. Byakuya had several chances to kill Ichigo during that battle, but he didn't, because Byakuya is, in a sense, arrogant. He's an arrogant captain. He has a lot of pride, and that's just the way he is. So, and on top of that, he has more experience in battle. He knows several more techniques. And as I was saying before in my initial video, that even when you compare it to the enemies that he's fought, when he fought against Yami, who quite bluntly overpowered Ichigo. You know, Ichigo's my boy and everything, so I like Ichigo. I think he's a good protagonist and everything, but when he fought Yami, he got his ass kicked. When Byakuya fought him, he dealt with his case. Okay, given he was with Kenpachi, but the blows that he gave to Yami, he done significant damage, which Ichigo just about did. He just gave him a nick on his neck, because I've rewatched this episode. He gave him a nick on his shoulder with a full powered Getsu Gotenshou while hollowified, and after he's had a power increase from his battle against Ukiura. So at that period in time, you can see, it's evident to see that Byakuya was more powerful. Byakuya is more powerful than Ichigo. It's just that when they had their battle, you know, Byakuya seemed to somewhat hold back. Yes, he used his ultimate technique, but that was only in the end, once the Hollow took over, which caught him by surprise, because he didn't expect that. Because even when the Hollow caught his sword, because the Hollow is stronger than Ichigo is, the Hollow caught Byakuya's sword, sliced him, wounded him, and done significant damage. Fired 2 Getsu Gotenshous at him that will naturally do significant damage. So now Byakuya is now weakened. If Byakuya took advantage of the situation and shot the harder 4 Byakuya through his neck, or his head, or his heart, Ichigo would have died, and that would have been the end of Bleach. Quite bluntly. We've already spoken about Soifon. We've already spoken about Kensei. We agree about Kenpachi. Shunsui. Kyoraku Shunsui. Okay. We know Ichigo is primary. Sorry about the jump cut again, guys. Basically, memory card ran out of memory, so I had to, you know, delete some stuff, refresh, and get back into it. So, okay. Now, where were we? We was talking about Shunsui Kyoraku. Okay, resuming session. Alright. Kyoraku Shunsui. I know you're right in the sense that we've barely seen anything about Shunsui and, you know, his battles. But let's take a look at what we have seen of Kyoraku Shunsui, because what we're going on here by is essentially speculation. These aren't facts and figures, these are just generally mine and your opinions. So you're entitled to your opinion, I'm entitled to my opinion. There are certain things we agree on and there's certain things we disagree on, which I do like and I do respect your opinion. So that's why, you know, I'm bearing into account what you say. So yes, you're right. We've barely seen anything about Shunsui. We've seen, you know, some of the abilities of Ishikai. We don't even know if that's all of them. Alright, but let's bear this in mind. The person he fought was Coyote. Is it Coyote Stark? Stark. Let's just say Stark. Espada number 1. Alright. Espada number 1 was fast enough to snatch Urahime from in between Zaraki Kenpachi and Ichigo Kurosaki in Bankai. In Bankai. This Bankai that, you know, is so fast and so powerful in between them, and they both couldn't do anything. They didn't have time to even react. They just about had time to react. And he was gone. Vanished, just like that. Okay. Shunsui, the new Captain Commander, Shunsui, was able to keep up with him in terms of speed. Even in some cases outmatch him. Outmatched him in sword styles. And also you need to understand the fact that Kyoraku Shunsui is a dual-wielded swordsman. Ichigo only has one. Zangetsu can't split into 2. So while Ichigo defends, Kyoraku Shunsui can block Ichigo's sword and attack, because Ichigo doesn't know anything other than Getsu Potential. So bearing that in mind, plus the abilities of Kyoraku Shunsui's Zanpakuto. He steps in your shadow, stabbed right through you. Ichigo, okay, if he gets ran through, he's essentially finished. It depends on what area and whatnot, because we've seen him recover back because of his hollow powers, but yeah. Like, take for example, I think it's Tagaoni. When Kyoraku Shunsui is in the air, whoever has the higher ground wins. So, you can go in by what we've seen so far. We know that this is just speculation and opinions, but you can go to the extent to say that Kyoraku Shunsui is faster than Ichigo Kurosaki, based on the one principle that Ichigo wasn't able to do anything to stop Stark, whilst Shunsui was able to keep up with him and match him blow for blow, and even sometimes surpass him in terms of speed and power. So, well, I guess that's it for my reply to your reply. I appreciate you taking the time out to make a video, quite a lengthy video, but you know, it's interesting, and you made some good points. So yeah, you know, I commend you for that. You know, you get your captain's commandments. Alright, but yeah, anyways, hopefully make a video in response to this, and you know, so I can hear some more of what you have to say. But anyways, this is me, Shin Megami X, aka Captain X, signing out. Take care. Peace, homie.